Guys, I'm going to do my best to offend a lot of you. I think there are a lot of salty watch collectors out there. I'm one of them. I don't take myself too seriously, so I'm going to maybe jibe and give some opinions here that you might not agree with, you might be offended by. Again, I'm doing my best to offend everybody in this video. So look in the comment section. Look for a few keywords. I'm going to give you guys your bingo cards, your watch enthusiast bingo cards, where you can look for somebody talking about how great Metis is, or spelling Rolex Rolex, talking about James Bond, talking about anti-reflective treatment, or ugly hands, or being overpriced, or overhyped, or iconic, or having a boring design, or hey, relationships, wait lists, you name it. There's going to be some salty people in the comment section. We're going to have quite a few dislikes on this video, but you know what? This is a this or that type episode. We're talking about the Rolex Submariner and the Omega Seamaster Professional 300 meter diver. Now, I will say, I own both watches. I've owned multiple subs over the years. I've owned multiple Seamasters over the years. So I guess you could say I'm biased, but I'm biased for both of them. I like each one. So I'm going to give you guys my opinions, and keep in mind, I'm not a Rolex fanboy. I'm not an Omega fanboy. I like both watches. I find validity in owning, here we go, both watches in the collection right now. I've got a Hulk and I've got a White Dial Seamaster. Now, let's start with the sub. Let's talk about the merits of the sub. Then we'll do the same with the Seamaster. I think the Rolex is the nicer watch. I do, and that's not me being a fanboy. That's not me being biased. I think it's more comfortable. I think it's more elegant. I think it's more refined. I still think it's very toolish and can go in almost any situation and has aged gracefully over the decades to a degree that the Seamaster really hasn't. I think the Seamaster took decades to really find its mojo and its stride, right, with its design DNA. It's only been very recently, relatively speaking, that the Seamaster has kind of come into its own. But the sub is almost unchanged since the 1950s, and I think that speaks to the fact that the design is right. And Rolex has only had to tweak it and update it and upgrade it slightly over the decades, which they've done. And so I think that's, a point in the Rolex's favor. It has the very best tactile elements of any dive watch that I've tried, even those that cost more than the Rolex at retail. The best bezel action in the business. Very satisfying clasp with the flip lock, the glide lock. The lume is awesome. Again, it's thin, it's trim. It's the easiest to wear watch in my collection. And that might be a bad thing because sometimes I forget that I'm wearing it. And I look down at my wrist and I see the gorgeous sun ray, the gold dust in the green. I look at the beauty, but I also notice the hairline wear marks or the dings or dents. And I'm like, how the heck did I get that? I think when I'm not conscious of the watch that I'm wearing, it has a tendency to be a little bit more beat up over time. So very easy to wear watch, very lovely watch. It's incredibly accurate. I don't have the 3235 in the current subs. I have the 3135, the workhorse, three-hand with the date movement that Rolex has done for a lot of years, a long time. And it's impressively accurate. If it's not spot on, it's -1 per day. So really, it's just bulletproof. It's anti-magnetic. Some watch enthusiasts will say, oh, well, it's not marketed as anti-magnetic, so the Seamaster's better. You know what? If Rolex sent their sub to be Metis certified, I'm sure it would pass with flying colors. They are very anti-magnetic, very good with shock. They're positionally adjusted. They work well whether they have a low power reserve or a high power reserve. They work well in different temperatures. They really are just one of the best everyday watches you could hope to buy. And that's not taking into account the desirability, the luxury factor, with them being seen as a status symbol for success and for wealth and for, having arrived in life, so to speak. It's not taking into account the desirability, the availability. That is a different point in and of itself. In fact, it's kind of a touchy point, which is why so many watch enthusiasts are salty with Rolex, is because they can't have Rolex. They can't go to their authorized dealer, have money in hand and say, I want a sub. No, absolutely not. In fact, there's not going to be a sub in that authorized dealer for you to even look at. That might change in future years, but no, they're very much hard to come by watches, and they're selectively given to clients from authorized dealers around the world. And so there's going to be a lot of people left out that are looking for the watches at retail. Obviously, a lot of people just go gray market, they go secondary, they spend the premium, the thousands of dollars of premium to get the watch they really want. And you know, if you do that, I'm not going to blame you, because that's likely your only avenue to get the sub. I mean, there's pros and cons to this lovely watch. I really like the Rolex. And again, that's not me being a fanboy. That's trying to look objectively at the merits of the watch and also the pros and cons of the brand and the market right now. Now let's talk about the merits of the Seamaster. The Seamaster, let me pull it up here. I'm amazed at what these things go for. The retail price, $5,200 on the bracelet, because I think Omega could be charging more than what they do and be justified in doing so. You're getting a great in-house movement that you can see through an exhibition window in the back. And it's a sharp-looking machine-finished arabesque pattern, coaxial movement that is META certified. I will say in day-to-day accuracy, I get like +2, +3 seconds a day, which is awesome. Like, that is nothing to complain about. It's not quite as accurate as all the Rolexes that I've owned over the years, but it's certainly nothing that I'm going to be upset about in the slightest. Some people criticize the skeleton hand. Some people criticize the fact that this is a very loud and shiny design. There's a lot of ceramic here. We have a ceramic bezel. We have a ceramic dial, and it's very contemporary looking. In fact, some people say it's too gimmicky. I don't think so. It's substantial. It's beautiful. It's a larger watch than the sub, but it's also more of a hefty and cumbersome watch to wear in comparison to the Submariner. You have a non-tapering bracelet. You have a massive clasp in comparison to the Rolex. So it is thicker, it is heavier, and it is a little bit harder to wear. And you certainly don't forget that you're wearing it. Now, it's comfortable, yes, but the edges, they're a little bit more abrupt and harsh compared to the Rolex. In fact, I would say that the Seamaster compares more favorably with a Tudor Black Bay. And some of you won't like hearing that, but I think those two are more on the same level. And the Rolex, it's a step above, but it's only one step above. It's not drastic. It's not crazy. It's just slightly noticeable, in my opinion. Again, this is awesome. I probably shouldn't share this with you guys, but I bought it pre-owned. I got a great deal. I spent $3,500, and it was from an authorized dealer. It came with the box, the bracelet, all of, the whole 9 yards, and it's in good condition. I really got a great price. I think if I went to sell it, I could probably sell it closer to $4,000. But, considering $3,500, $4,000, even retail price, if I'm spending $5,000 on this, I'm getting a heck of a watch, right? With lovely light play, very dimensional maxi markers with, kind of a 3D effect of the lume application, the bitone lume application. In some lights, this looks flat white. In others, you see that reflectivity off of the zirconium dioxide dial, and it looks gorgeous. The gunmetal hands and markers, they get silvered out. There's a lot going on visually. Almost too much, but I like a little bit too much. I like having that visual interest. In fact, today I'm wearing the Zenith Defy Classic open work dial. I love light play. I love presence. So obviously I love the Seamaster. It comes with a nicer box than the Rolex. It comes with great anti-reflective treatment, which the Rolex will not have, save for the underside of the Cyclops. That's the only place on the Rolex crystal that has anti-reflective treatment. So I would say, looking at the Omega, I'd say the box is better, the anti-reflective treatment is better, the availability is better, right? The options from the OEM, like you could get several different colors. They come out with limited editions, special editions. You can actually try it on if you go to the authorized dealer. You walk in, you're going to be able to try on a watch and probably negotiate a discount. I'd say those things are nicer than the Rolex, but everything else, in terms of the actual watch, the wearability, the accuracy, the refinement, the versatility, all of it, I think is a little bit nicer on the Rolex. And so, again, that's just my opinion. I know there's going to be some watch enthusiasts that go, no way, Bruce, you're crazy. You're biased. You're so biased. I can't believe you. You got stupid hair and you think the Rolex is better, but clearly the Omega is better. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. It's not clear to me. Again, I've owned both watches, both models, multiple of each model, and I've reviewed multiple iterations of each model over the years. I have some good experience, and I like to think I am pretty objective. I'm looking at the merits of each watch, and they both have very strong merits. So let's kind of wrap up this video, guys. I know I'm offending quite a few of you salty viewers. That's totally fine. I don't take myself too seriously. You can tell me I have stupid hair and stupid opinions. I'm not going to get mad. But let's talk about what you should do. Let's say you have $10,000 in the budget. What should you buy? I think it's going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to, do you have the ability to buy new at an authorized dealer? If you do, I think you should buy the Rolex. I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that. I do think it's a little bit nicer watch than the Omega. It will likely stay in your collection longer, as it has with the models that I've owned over the years. It does have nicer tactile elements. It is slightly more accurate, more refined, more comfortable, all of that stuff. I think you should buy the Rolex. But that being said, that's not going to apply to everybody, and that's not going to apply to a majority of you out there. You just won't have the opportunity to buy it new from an authorized dealer. And so what do you do in that instance? Are you settling if you buy an Omega? Absolutely not. I don't think you are, because this watch stands on its own merits. Like, there are some nitpicky things. I don't like the wart on the helium release wart here. The bracelet could be more comfortable. It could be a little bit more refined on the edges. I mean, there are a few little things to talk about, but man, it's a great watch. And if you buy one for $3,500, $4,000, even $5,000, that's a great way to spend that amount of money. And you'll have thousands left over to buy a Grand Seiko or a Tudor or whatever else you're interested in, maybe a Zenith. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with doing that. Now, let's say you're not limited by budget and you're not limited by availability. It doesn't matter if you're buying from an authorized dealer or you're buying on the gray market. Let's say you have $100,000 in the watch budget, which I know might sound like a lot to a lot of us, but to others, that's really not all that much. I mean, price is pretty relative. I know collectors that spend almost $1 million a year on their toys, on their watches. So let's say you have $100,000. What should you do? I think you should buy both. Buy a sub, buy a Seamaster, buy multiple of each one. Even if you're buying the Hulk at the going rate of 20 grand, which is crazy to me. Right now it's 20. It'll likely, approach 30 in the coming years. But yeah, you could spend a fifth of your watch budget, get a heck of a watch and love it, and then buy a couple different Seamasters, your favorite colors, and enjoy those. I mean, I think there is merit to having both in the collection. So if you're not limited, don't limit yourself with your collection. If you're not limited by budget, buy both and enjoy both. And those are my opinions, guys. The Rolex is not 5 times the Omega, just a little bit nicer. And I don't think there's anything controversial in saying that. It's my opinion. You can disagree with me. You can call me a tool. You can call me a fool. That's totally fine. Again, I'm not going to be offended. And I'm looking forward to reading the salty comments in this video here. And I have my bingo card. Let me see how I've done here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching today. Let me know if you have any suggestions for a future this or that type video. And thank you, Benny, for suggesting this one. So have a great day, guys, and I'll see you next time.